Amazing Mom's Heartfelt Plea revealed. Businessman's son's surprising arrival changes everything. In the heart of a struggling Midwestern town, the scent of fresh bread mingled with despair, an ironic dance in a bakery, clinging to the remnants of cherished memories. Sarah stood behind the counter, her flour-dusted apron a symbol of continuity amid confusion. 50 and alone, she felt time slipping through her fingers like grains of sand. Her mother gone, the family recipes fading like echoes of laughter that once filled the bakery. Now as bills crept higher and customers dwindled, that familiar warmth turned into a relentless chill. What if her dreams of handing down these treasured recipes to her 2 children were just illusions? Each night she worked late, her heart heavy and her mind racing through the unending cycle of grief mixed with anxiety. She knew the whispers that floated through the town, tinged with judgment. Could a single mother really carry this legacy, or were her aspirations mere folly? With each knead of dough, a gnawing fear coiled tighter around her heart. Could she really do this alone? Was it outrageous to believe that a town, once so full of life and joy, could still find its heartbeat in her hands? As she wrestled with the shadow of her mother's absence, a desperate idea formed. Could she reach out to Alex, her son, who had run off to the city, chasing career ambitions and leaving behind not just a town, but a shattered family? The thought of writing to him sent her mind spinning. Would he even care? Or had he forgotten the tastes and smells of the home they once shared? With trembling fingers, she penned a heartfelt plea, a combination of vulnerability and resilience. "Please, Alex, I need your help. The bakery is fading, and so are we." The moment she sealed that envelope, dread pooled in her stomach. What if he judged her for not being enough? As the days passed, the silence became suffocating, wrapping its tendrils around her spirit. Then, a voice crackled to life on the other end of the phone, crackling through insecurities and buried sadness. It almost felt cosmic. He had come back. But as the day of his return loomed, the anticipation turned to dread. Would he walk through that door with the weight of expectations on his shoulders? Each creak of the bakery's wooden door made her heart race, each sound a reminder of their history, heavy with unspoken words. When Alex finally stepped inside, the air electrified with unknitted tensions. Sarah's smile faltered under the weight of unresolved anger. Did he even remember the warmth they had shared? Their initial conversation, laden with awkward pleasantries, barely scratched the surface. Painful memories flooded her mind, the times he had looked past her, the moments she had desperately needed him, and he was nowhere to be found. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every word, the storm inside her intensified, mirroring the tempest brewing outside. Then, as they cleared out old flour canisters, they stumbled upon a forgotten box. Dusty, unopened letters, like ghosts of their past. As the thunder rolled, they exchanged looks thick with anguish. Would these letters peel back the layers of resentment and guilt? Would they finally confront all that was buried deep inside? The bakery's walls reverberated with the weight of their silence, leaving the question throbbing in the air. Could this revelation be the key to their fractured bond, or would it push them further apart? The air thickened with tension, and Sarah's heart raced as she and Alex hovered over the box of letters, the shadows of their past looming large. She felt a jolt of anxiety. Could this be the moment to confront not just the ghosts of their relationship, but also her own insecurities? As Alex reached for the first letter, Sarah's mind raced with memories of her son as a child, trusting and full of ambition, not yet burdened by the weight of the world. "What's in these?" he asked, his voice wavering. She watched him carefully, his brow furrowed with uncertainty. He had always been the one to escape into the unknown, leaving her behind to manage everything alone. "Letters your grandmother wrote to me," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. From the years before, well, before life got complicated. The words felt inadequate, covering years of hurt and misunderstanding. Alex's fingers hesitated above the yellowed paper. In that pause of indecision, Sarah's uncertainty bubbled to the surface. Did he remember the bakery like she did? Did it still mean anything to him? "We could read them together," she suggested, trying to light a spark of connection where none had existed for so long. He nodded slowly, and as he unfolded the first letter, the fragile parchment whispered tales of family history, resilience, and dreams, much like her own aspirations for the bakery. With each word he read aloud, Sarah felt something shift within her. The walls she had built against pain began to crack. The letter spoke of her mother's determination to keep the bakery alive during dark times, along with the fabulous recipes that filled their home with warmth. As Alex read, she could feel the flicker of their shared love for baking illuminate the heavy space between them. But then it happened. A letter revealing her mother's deepest fears about failing to provide for them, to pass on the family legacy. It was as if a mirror had been held up to Sarah's own struggles, reflecting her insecurities. A lump formed in her throat, and she held her breath, anxiously awaiting Alex's reaction. "Mum, why didn't you tell me?" he finally asked, his voice heavier now. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Instead, 1,000 emotions battled within her. The weight of responsibility pressed against her chest, and she felt the sting of suppressed disappointment. "I thought I could handle the bakery alone," she confessed, the admission drawing a line in the sand. "I thought I was protecting you." His eyes widened, surprise morphing into understanding. They had both been navigating deep waters alone, misjudging the strength they could find together. This realization cracked the ice of their emotional isolation. "I wish I had known sooner," he said, voice low, remorse hanging between them. "Maybe I wouldn't have run away." Sarah caught a glimpse of the man he had become, and the thought made her heart swell with a mix of pride and sorrow. Here he was, standing in the very place she had built with dreams and struggle, wrestling with his own public facade. "Would you help me?" she asked softly, suddenly driven by hope and vulnerability. "We could bring this place back to life together." Alex was silent, and as the weight of her request settled between them, Sarah's heart beat in tandem with the doorbell's chime, anticipating not just the return of an old familiarity, but the promise of a collaborative future. In that moment of potential, Sarah was faced with an undeniable truth. He would need to confront his own past decisions, and she had to prepare for whatever fears surfaced in that confrontation. Just as they shared a moment of reluctant understanding, the phone rang, breaking the delicate silence. It was a call from the town council, an unexpected push to either salvage or shut down the bakery. Sarah's heart sank. The stakes were higher than either of them had prepared for. "Mum, I can't do this alone, but I want us to try," Alex said, his resolve rekindled in the face of urgency. With her heart racing, Sarah realized that just as they could unearth the remnants of their turbulent past, they now had to face an even greater challenge ahead, one that would test not only their family bond, but their individual aspirations. The moment had come to determine if the bakery could rise from the ashes of its former self, or if it would close forever. And as Sarah looked at her son, she understood fully that change was imminent. The question remained, would they be ready for it? The phone's sharp ring echoed in the quiet room, pulling Sarah from the swirling thoughts that threatened to drown her. She had always relied on practical matters to ground her. This phone call, however, was anything but ordinary. "Mum, what are we going to do?" Alex's voice trembled, uncertainty mixed with determination. The urgency of the town council's notice loomed large, casting a net of fear over their budding reconciliation. The bakery was not just a place for pastries. It was the heart of their family legacy, a beacon of connection now threatened by imminent closure. "Let me think," Sarah whispered, realizing that thinking was exactly what she needed to do. Her mind raced through the myriad of possibilities, each one more daunting than the last. Could they truly revive the bakery against all odds? She had fought battles before, but this felt different. This was about their shared future, not just her own. "I can help, Mom. I'm serious about this," Alex urged, his words steadying her frantic heart. There was an unexpected resilience in his tone, something she hadn't heard in years. It ignited sparks of hope, but also paranoia. He always seemed so capable when it came to escaping, but now he was offering to return. Could she trust him this time? "I know you're serious, but it's not just about effort. We need a plan." "Then let's make one. Together," he proposed, his voice tinged with newfound purpose that made her heart swell. As they designed a preliminary strategy, Sarah felt a mixture of empowerment and trepidation. Their conversations shifted from echoes of the past to tangible actions, illuminating facets of her son's character she hadn't recognized. Determination transformed his face. It sparked something deep within her, too. Perhaps it was time for both of them to redefine who they were in each other's lives. "Let's start with my grandmother's recipes. If we can bring those back to life, we can remind people of what the bakery means," Sarah suggested, the excitement bubbling within her chest. Baking had always been her sanctuary, a language she spoke without words. Maybe through their shared love of it, they would forge a new path forward. "Right. We can create a special menu, maybe a revival week," he enthused, his eyes dancing with possibilities as they brainstormed. Each idea built a bridge between their past estrangements and hopeful complexities, merging their dreams into a cohesive vision. Eventually, Sarah's enthusiasm began to cloud with doubts. "It's going to take time. What if it fails again? We can't think like that. What if it works?" Alex countered gently, grounding her spiraling thoughts. It was a question that struck her as powerful. What if it worked? What if their budding partnership yielded more than just an improvement in business? Perhaps it could open the door to healing their troubled union. "Yes, but the council's deadline is looming. I can't let everything we've built fall through the cracks." Sarah grappled with her fears, questioning if she was strong enough to battle this storm. The atmosphere shifted again, charged with a mix of excitement and tension. Sarah was learning that facing their fear wasn't just about the bakery. It was about confronting her perception of Alex. He was no longer the child who ran away. He was a man who was offering to stand by her side. "This is our shot," Alex insisted, a surprising conviction igniting in him. His perspective motivated her as well. Together they could leverage what once had been apart, merging their strengths to stand against the world. As they cemented their plans, a wave of determination washed over Sarah. This was a transformative moment, not just for the bakery, but for both of them. Could this newfound partnership allow them to dismantle the barriers that had kept them worlds apart? With every intention set, there stood the looming question that both exhilarated and terrified her. What would happen if they failed? Would they retreat into their shells again, or would confronting this test of resilience create a strong bond unshakable by past grievances? The stakes were high and the dawn of a new chapter beckoned with its thrilling uncertainty. But just as optimism flourished, a sudden knock on the door disrupted their fervor. Sarah's stomach twisted. Who could it be? The intensity of the emerging crisis escalated with each heartbeat, heightening her anticipation and fear. Perhaps the answer to their plans, or the complication that could unravel them, awaited on the other side. The knock echoed again, steady and insistent, forcing Sarah to confront the tension that wrapped around her. Alex's eyes widened, brimming with anticipation and a hint of apprehension. "Should I get it?" he whispered, his hands trembling slightly. "No. I need to face this," she replied, her voice more resolved than she felt. The bakery had always been a place of solace for her, a retreat away from life's tumultuous storm. Now it stood precariously at the brink, and she could not afford to let fear dictate her actions. With each step toward the door, her heart raced, combining anxiety with budding excitement at the prospect of confronting uncertainty. What if this knock brought bad news? Or worse, what if it brought someone with a claim on her past, someone who had the power to unravel the fragile progress she and Alex had made? She opened the door slowly, bracing herself for whatever awaited her. Standing there was Mrs. Patterson, their neighbor, clutching a basket of fresh vegetables as though it weighed her down with unspoken words. Her expression was serious, eyes scanning Sarah's before settling on Alex behind her. I just heard about the bakery. I thought you might need some support, Mrs. Patterson said, the warmth in her tone contrasting sharply with the chilly uncertainty that blanketed the room. Support, Alex echoed, cautious yet hopeful. Yes, but you will need more than heartfelt sympathy, I imagine, Mrs. Patterson continued, pushing past Sarah to step inside. The council's meeting is in 2 days. You should prioritize a business plan that conveys the bakery's significance to the community. Sarah felt the weight of Mrs. Patterson's words settle over her like a heavy cloak. No one had ever framed it that way before. Their bakery was more than flour and sugar. It was a history. It represented the dreams of generations, echoing with laughter and memories. She had failed to recognize that connection in her panic. It ignited a simmering determination within her. Okay, we need to consider how to present a compelling case, Sarah said, rallying her resolve. They had to switch gears, and Alex's eyes reflected an understanding of newfound responsibility. Alex, we can integrate community feedback, host a tasting, something immersive, she suggested, each idea sparking another, and the initial panic began to transform into an energetic momentum. Mrs. Patterson's nod of approval fueled their brainstorming. You need a narrative. Your family's history ties into this place. Make them feel that. Show them the legacy they don't want to lose. Sitting at the bakery's table, they began to outline their plan. Each recipe would not only serve as a tribute to Sarah's grandmother, but tell the stories that accompanied them, memories of comfort and celebration. As the afternoon passed, Sarah felt a sense of empowerment swell within her, a liberation that had eluded her. Her hands moved instinctively, poring over ingredients in the kitchen. They were more than just flour and sugar now. They were building blocks of hope. I've realized something, Sarah remarked, mixing dough. The bakery isn't solely about sales. It's about the spirit of the community, a medium for our family's heritage. We can't forget that. Alex watched her carefully, his expression laden with understanding. What if we reach out to old customers, ask them to share their favorite memories of the bakery, make it a campaign? The thought ignited Sarah's creative juices, prompting optimism to eclipse her lingering doubts. Maybe stepping into her past would empower their future. They could leverage nostalgia, community sentiment, and family legacy into an irresistible plea. Just as new ideas flowed freely, an abrupt, jarring knock shattered the developing tranquility. Sarah froze, the bubbling energy instinctively quelling. It felt different, foreboding. Who could that possibly be? Alex questioned, exchanging concerned glances with Sarah. Let's find out, she replied, a determined edge returning to her voice. But as she made her way toward the door, the threads of unease returned. Whatever waited on the other side could just as easily unravel their plans as it could fortify their resolve. With a deep breath, she cracked the door open slightly, readying herself for whatever storm might come. The stakes had never been higher. Would this door reveal an ally who could empower their mission, or a force that could threaten to push them apart when they had just begun to bridge the abyss? The door swung open to reveal a figure shrouded in the shadows, and Sarah's initial instinct was to recoil. Standing before her, however, was none other than Tom, a business associate of her mother's from years ago. His previously confident demeanor was clouded with concern, a stark contrast to the jovial man she remembered from family gatherings. "Tom?" she mumbled, momentarily caught off guard. "Sarah, I heard what happened," he said, stepping inside after a brief hesitation. "Your mother would have wanted... She would want you to know that I believe in you." The warmth of his words cracked through her tension, though uncertainty gnawed at her. You know about the council meeting?" Tom nodded gravely. "I'm here to help. I could lend my experience in business strategy. Your bakery. It's worth fighting for." As she processed his unexpected arrival, Sarah felt the walls around her emotions beginning to shift. Tom's presence reminded her that connections, both past and present, could still open pathways forward. She had learned to face the fear of vulnerability, yet the weight of old expectations began to resurface. "Why would you want to help? We haven't spoken in years," she challenged, her skepticism edging into defensive territory. His gaze softened. "Because this bakery means something. It's a part of this town's narrative, and I know firsthand the impact it has on people. We can shape a business plan that showcases that, one that resonates with the council." The words struck a chord within her. In that fleeting moment she saw the flicker of hope, not just for the bakery, but for her own growth within this struggle. She had always prided herself on independence, yet here was a lifeline offered by someone from her past. "What's your vision?" she asked, curiosity overcoming reluctance. They moved to the table crowded with her hastily sketched notes, a canvas of ideas desperate for order. Tom initiated a dialogue as Sarah chimed in, rediscovering her strength with each exchange. It was exhilarating, like reclaiming a piece of her identity that had slowly worn away during her struggle. "Let's position the bakery not just as a business, but as a cultural anchor," he proposed. "We'll integrate themes of community, legacy, and personal connection into the plan. If you can evoke feelings of nostalgia, they won't just see numbers, they'll see a story." As they crafted their narrative, sleepless nights filled with fear were replaced with deliberate strategy and optimism. They discussed the importance of leveraging Sarah's family history and ongoing community relationships. Each idea grew progressively bolder, expanding into vital campaigns featuring personal testimonials from patrons who cherished the bakery's contributions to their lives. But even within this surge of creative energy, a shadow loomed. What if their best efforts fell flat? What if the council was inflexible, still unmoved by the emotional weight behind their pitch? The looming spectre of failure loomed large, entwining itself with their newfound ambition. "Let's keep accountability. I want you to not just see this as a moment in time, but rather a new beginning," Tom urged, snapping Sarah back into focus. His belief in her reignited her determination, but it was brittle. They'd crafted a promising start, yet the reality of their presentation loomed closer, and she questioned if she'd have the strength to face doubters and push through her inherent fear of rejection. As they finalized their notes, the looming deadline felt less like a threat and more like a launchpad. She could feel uncertainty bubbling beneath the surface, clashing with a growing sense of responsibility to not just herself, but to the legacy she stood to protect. However, unanticipated shifts had been a recurring theme, and this newfound partnership might conceal more than it revealed. Unexpected truths often lay just beneath the surface, ready to disrupt the fragile order of her plans. "Whatever it takes, right?" she quipped, forcing a smile as she tried to mask her trepidation. Tom's eyes held an interrogative glint. "Yes, but be prepared. There's more to learn about what this means, both for the bakery and for you." As the weight of those words settled heavily in the air, Sarah's mind buzzed with unsolved questions. The foundation had been set, but could she truly handle the upheaval ahead? Just as determination solidified into resolve, another knock echoed through the bakery, even more insistent than the last. "Who could that be?" she whispered, bracing herself against the unexpected turn of fate. As the door creaked open, she knew just one thing. There were still many layers of conflict and revelation to uncover in her journey ahead. The door swung open, revealing a figure framed by the afternoon light that spilled into the bakery. To Sarah's surprise, it was her childhood friend, Jenna, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Sarah, I just heard you're fighting for the bakery," she exclaimed, stepping inside, her energy palpable. "Jenna," Sarah greeted, blending confusion and relief. The sight of her longtime friend was a jolt to the heart, yet a wave of apprehension washed over her. What would Jenna's presence signify? "I thought I'd drop by to see how you're doing. Everyone's talking about it," Jenna said, her eyes scanning the cluttered table where Sarah and Tom had been deep in strategy. A hint of a smile flickered on her lips. "Looks like you've got help. Who's this?" "This is Tom," Sarah introduced, trying to project confidence despite the flutter of anxiety in her gut. "He's been guiding me with the presentation for the council." "Nice to meet you," Tom said, extending his hand, which Jenna accepted warmly, though her curious gaze shifted back to Sarah. "Are you really going through with all this? I mean, isn't it overwhelming?" Jenna probed, the intensity of her questions matching the bundled emotions in Sarah's chest. At that moment, Sarah felt the weight of expectations from both sides, the stirring between old friendships and new alliances. It forced her to confront her own purpose. Was this fight for the bakery also a fight for her own identity? "I have to," Sarah replied, her voice steadier than it felt. "This bakery is part of who I am, my mom's legacy. I can't let it go without a fight." "If anyone can save it, it's you," Jenna stated, the conviction in her tone pushing against the remnants of doubt swirling in Sarah's mind. Yet, rather than feeling empowered, Sarah felt a flicker of unease. Was it truly just about preserving her mother's legacy, or was there a deeper aspect to her struggle that remained unexamined? As they talked, Sarah saw a glimmer of the ambitious girl she used to be, the one who devoured every cake recipe, celebrated kitchen successes, and thrived under pressure. But that girl seemed distant, submerged beneath layers of doubt that had formed during the past months. "Have you thought about a community outreach plan? Maybe invite local figures to discuss the bakery's history with the council," Jenna suggested, her passion infectious. Stepping back, Sarah leaned on the table and reflected. The idea struck her profoundly. Connecting the bakery with community narratives could breathe new life into her plans. It was a chance not just to save the bakery, but also to intertwine her ambitions with those she cared about in the town. "I need to showcase why this matters, not just to me but to everyone," she mused, igniting sparks of inspiration within herself. Yet that nagging feeling still churned. Was she prepared for the impending confrontation with the council? And could she share the responsibility of this venture with others without losing her identity? Jenna's eyes widened. "That's brilliant. You're onto something. You just need to make them feel what we all did growing up. It's not just about baking, it's a connection between people. Our storytelling could revolutionize this pitch," Tom agreed, his own excitement unfolding as Sarah felt a rush of momentum building in the room. Picking up a pen, she began writing down ideas, but as they bounced concepts around, a whisper of doubt bubbled back to the surface. What if their excitement failed to deliver? What if the council rejected their heartfelt approach? Questions crowded her mind, challenging her expanding determination. "Can I count on you both?" she finally asked, a guarded but sincere plea. "This isn't just about numbers, it's about reminding everyone of what we stand for." "Absolutely," Jenna exclaimed, passion illuminating her features. Tom nodded, an affirmation for the strategic partnership they had begun crafting. But even as she embraced this newfound collaborative spirit, a flicker of anxiety circled. She had never been one to lean on others. Was she ready for deeper commitments in her professional growth, or would vulnerability be her undoing? The sound of the door creaking open again pulled her from her thoughts, and her heart raced. The challenges of the past few weeks tightened around her, with an intensity that felt suffocating. Who or what awaited her this time? With her resolve firmly planted, Sarah felt the universe pushing her to confront the truth of her ambition. Little did she know, the next revelation could alter the very path she was fighting to secure. What loomed behind that door might very well threaten the fragile alliances she had just begun to forge. Sarah straightened her posture, shifting her weight slightly to the left as she braced for whatever revelation awaited her from within the door. The creak reverberated in the small bakery, amplifying her anxiety. Her heart raced, palms dampening against the old wooden table cluttered with notes and unfinished ideas. The figure emerging was not someone she recognized immediately, and her mind raced through the possible faces she had hoped to avoid. He stepped into the light, his sharp suit contrasting drastically with the warm, flower-dusted atmosphere of the bakery. It was Blake, the local business mogul and the council member she had dreaded seeing. A knot formed in her stomach as she grappled with both recognition and concern. "Blake," Sarah said, her voice a measured whisper, trying to mask the rush of emotions cascading within her. The former classmate, now a figure of authority, had always been a disconnect in her past, someone who thrived in the corporate realm while Sarah remained nestled in the childhood joy of baking. "Sarah," he replied, a hint of surprise crossing his face, quickly replaced by calculation. "I didn't expect to find you here fighting for this place. Are you sure you want to take this on?" She felt the weight of his words like an anchor. Why was he here? Did he aim to undermine her efforts, or was there an underlying reason for his presence? "I'm committed to it," she stated firmly, steeling her emotions. "I'm not giving up without a fight." "Courageous," he said, a touch of sarcasm underlying his tone. "But you know how the council operates. Do you really think your nostalgia will sway them? They're looking for cold, hard facts." His dismissive attitude prickled at her motivation. Just moments ago she had felt a sense of purpose with Jenna and Tom at her side. Now those sparks faded under his sharp gaze. "It's about more than numbers, Blake. It's about community. This bakery connects people." He regarded her with a raised eyebrow, amusement dancing on his lips. "Community, that's a buzzword. Markets thrive on profitability, Sarah. You need to get with the realities of business." The challenge in his words ignited a flicker of defiance within her. "And yet I believe that if the community feels connected, they will support it financially. That's not just an ideal, it's an intelligent strategy." Blake shrugged dismissively, but Sarah sensed a shift in his demeanor. Perhaps he was intrigued by her resolve, just as much as he was prejudiced against her approach. For the first time in a while, she felt her confidence surge, battling against his cold pragmatism. She took a step closer, her heart racing but her voice steady. "If you want to help join the conversation with the council, don't just be a voice of doubt." "Help you," he echoed, surprise evident in his tone. "I'm here to represent the council, not get personally involved." "A choice you can change," she pressed. "You didn't become who you are by hiding behind a desk. All I'm asking for is an opportunity for dialogue, not just decisions based on profit margins." The atmosphere thickened with a mix of incredulity and curiosity. Blake studied her, and Sarah recognized that the urgency to prove herself was spiraling into something deeper, the recognition of her worth beyond her mother's legacy. She had become a contender. As their conversation continued, doubts started to fade, replaced with the burgeoning sense of empowerment. Each word that left her mouth felt reclaimed, an act of defiance mingled with purpose. "I see you're passionate, Sarah," he finally conceded, his gaze shifting. "But passion won't be enough. You need a solid action plan, something pragmatic, something I can present to the council." She nodded slowly, absorbing the challenge rather than rejecting it outright. It was a possibility, a path for growth. "Then let's work on that plan together," she suggested, the words surprising even herself. A flash of uncertainty crossed his features, revealing an uncharacteristic cautiousness. As if she had struck a nerve, his position began to soften. "Together," Blake repeated, the challenge in her eyes met with a reluctant consideration of commitment. "Let's find common ground," she urged, aware of the gravity of what she offered. This could achieve both personal and professional growth or reveal the vulnerabilities of her ambition. But just as quickly as the opportunity arrived, her mind was overwhelmed with fresh concern. As much as she ached for collaboration, were they truly on the same side? Could Blake's motives be trusted? The stakes heightened around her. She was standing on a precipice, an uncertain partnership, balancing atop layers of past choices and future ramifications. Before they could delve deeper, the bakery door swung shut, disrupting the budding complexity of their dialogue. That singular act formed an invisible wall around them, suffocating her burgeoning opportunity. "What's next for you?" Blake asked, the edge of his voice now sharper. "Another meeting with the council?" "No," she countered, a flicker of determination igniting within her once again. "This is just the beginning." But as she spoke, the uncertainty of what lay ahead loomed large. Would her newfound ambition stabilize her foundation, or would it lead her deeper into conflicts that threatened her identity? Behind those doors, she felt the weight of unexpected alliances shape the fabric of her journey. The next step awaited her, a vision forming of not just survival but of significance. The following morning, Sarah's alarm punctuated the silence, its ringing a relentless reminder that time was slipping away. She had spent much of the night reflecting, the weight of her conversation with Blake spiraling into a whirlwind of thoughts. Her mind was tethered between determination and doubt, each concern about their potential partnership pulling at her resolve. With a deep breath, she sat up, letting the sunlight flood her small bedroom. Inspiration mingled with anxiety, as her phone buzzed, revealing a message from Jenna. "Ready to slay the day? Let's talk numbers." Sarah smiled, appreciating the unwavering support offered by her friends. They had rallied behind her goal, but now she lacked a solid strategy to convey the bakery's significance. After a quick breakfast, she swung open the bakery doors, inhaling the familiar aroma of freshly baked bread. There was comfort in the routine of mixing dough and whisking batter, but today felt different. Today she must transform that comfort into a calculated plan. If Blake was going to assist her, she needed to come prepared. The proposal she inevitably had to present to the council required actionable strategies, not simply a passion for her craft. In her cozy corner, Sarah spread her notes across the countertop, pages adorned with scribbles of ideas. She enacted a mental exercise to clear her thoughts. What were the bakery's strengths? The community connection was paramount, but she needed hard statistics. That was Blake's world. Understanding this, she began drafting ideas of financial forecasts, projected support from local businesses, and how each aspect connected with the human element, the warmth of her bakery. Jenna arrived shortly, bringing with her a sense of urgency. "Okay, let's figure this out," she said, eyeing the chaotic notes, her brow furrowed with focus. They shared insights, swapping ideas about outreach programs and promotions that tied in community events, things Sarah had previously avoided focusing on. She had clung to the notion that her baking alone could create impact, but she saw now the broader scope of engagement that they could tap into. Hours passed, and the collaboration intensified. Sarah's initial discomfort with cold, hard numbers began to dissolve. Frenzied brainstorming led to hidden strengths surfacing. The local artists who could showcase wares at the bakery, small live performances, maybe workshops that mixed baking with creating community art. Each concept filled her with a new vigor, embedding itself into the business strategy she had once thought was unattainable. But as they finalized their ideas, Sarah felt the looming question return. Could she really trust Blake? Despite their budding partnership, his motivations were still clouded. Sarah's resolve began to waver. Was she simply leaning into this introduction of pragmatism without a solid gauge of his intentions? What if she were to make herself vulnerable, only to be undermined later? Just as fatigue threatened to seep into her spirit, Tom burst through the door, across his face a mix of excitement and concern. "Sarah, you won't believe what I just heard." She looked up, curiosity piqued. "What is it?" "It sounds like the council has a different proposal on the table. Something big that could affect the funding for community spaces in the area," he disclosed. Urgency laced in his voice. Sarah's heart sank. Would her bakery even be considered a priority against whatever new initiative was looming? They had worked tirelessly, building a case for their community-focused strategy, only to find that politics might uproot everything she sought to establish. "Is this connected to Blake?" she asked, her resolve trembling as she faced the reality of potential sabotage. Tom's expression darkened. "If he is involved, you might want to rethink this alliance." The urgency of Tom's words pressed upon Sarah like a tangible weight. What would be her next move in a landscape riddled with uncertainty? She felt the fragile connectivity of her plans, teetering on the edge of chaos. As the floor beneath her shifted, she had to decide. Should she confront Blake directly about this new information, or play the waiting game and see how it unfurled? Anxiety mixed with excitement propelled her forward. She needed clarity before she moved ahead. Just as the thought crystallized in her mind, the door swung open again. Sarah froze, breath caught in her throat. Would it be Blake, or perhaps an unexpected challenge that would redefine her quest? "Let's see what's next," she whispered to herself, steeling her resolve as she prepared for whatever emerged from the doorway, ready to confront the next chapter of her brewing journey. The moment of anticipation shattered when a familiar figure stepped through the door. It was not Blake, nor an unforeseen challenge, but Jenna, her face aglow with excitement. "You won't believe it," she exclaimed, rushing towards Sarah with a burst of energy. "I just got off the phone with my cousin from the city. He mentioned there's a small opportunity for local businesses to showcase their work in a pop-up market next weekend." Sarah's heart raced. The idea of a pop-up market tugged at her instincts to spread the bakery's message. "That's great, Jenna. When is it?" she asked, already envisioning the potential for exposure. "Next Saturday. We'd have an entire day to present specialty items and engage directly with the customers. It's a chance for real FaceTime with the community," Jenna replied, her enthusiasm infectious. Yet, even as excitement sparked within her, Sarah's mind raced with distractions. What if they signed up, drew people in, only to have Blake's consequences hover overhead? It was a double-edged sword, each potential triumph shadowed by the specter of uncertainty. "Here's the thing," Jenna continued, sensing Sarah's hesitance. "We could showcase the best of what you do, maybe include a demo or a mini-class on baking some of your signature pastries. People love a personal touch, and if we can tie that into the local businesses that may be facing challenges, we might get them interested in collaborating with us afterward." As Jenna spoke, Sarah absorbed each word. She envisioned bustling counters filled with cakes, bread, and smiling faces. "We could use this opportunity as leverage. If we gather enough support, it might strengthen our position with the council." Her voice grew steadier, determination swirling within her once more. "Exactly," Jenna beamed, her confidence infectious. "We can't let Blake or any other potential setbacks deter us. This is about your bakery, your dream. The community knows and loves you." Yet Sarah wrestled internally with her gut feeling. Was she ready to embrace the community's affection, risking everything against the backdrop of possible betrayal? "Let's get a plan together," Sarah said, leaning into the idea. "We need the right products, some signage that demonstrates why we matter. Maybe even reach out to local media. Get the word out." She could feel the puzzle pieces clicking into place, allowing her creativity to flow freely. As they brainstormed, the earlier anxieties began to fade, buried beneath a flurry of ideas and a resurgence of commitment. Each suggestion drew her further away from her doubts. Time passed unnoticed, as Sarah scribbled notes, her mind a whirlwind of flavors and demographics, as she crafted a strategy that could elevate their presence beyond the bakery's four walls. Yet, a question loomed like a storm above clear skies. Would Bruce's political maneuvering disrupt this chance before they could even grasp it? As the meeting wrapped up, Jenna glanced at Sarah, realization dawning. "We have to talk to Blake soon. If there's a chance he's involved with the council's plans, we need to know what we're up against and how it impacts this opportunity." The prospect of confrontation froze Sarah momentarily. Could she approach this partnership while feeling cautious? Did she have enough confidence to ask those tough questions and maintain her integrity? Around her, the bakery hummed with life as afternoon sunlight refracted through the window panes. Somewhere in that warmth, she sensed a pathway forming. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, breaking her from her reverie. It was a message from Blake. "Can we meet to discuss the proposal? I think we should talk about how we can work together." Sarah stared at the screen. This could be the opening she needed, a moment to clarify intentions, draw boundaries, or forge ahead to safeguard her dream. "Looks like we're on a deadline," Jenna remarked, eyeing the message curiously. "What do you think? Are you ready to face him?" In that moment, everything crystallized for Sarah. She had a choice to make, to either remain passive or to confront the rising tide of uncertainty head-on. With resolve swelling within her, she composed a response. "Yes, let's meet." For better or worse, Sarah was stepping onto a battlefield stained with ambitions, complexities, and the specter of trust. Would she fortify her dreams here or risk it all? Before she could second-guess, she hit send, the electricity of change crackling in the air. What awaited her in that meeting with Blake was uncertain, but one thing remained clear. She was ready to claim her power back. As the door creaked, she wondered what lay ahead. Would she fortify her ambitions, or would they shatter before her eyes? In the quiet aftermath of her meeting with Blake, Sarah stood in the bakery, the familiar scents swirling around her. The air felt charged, filled with a mix of urgency and expectancy. She had spent her life juggling flour and sugar, but now she was balancing dreams against the harsh realities of business. Yet surprisingly, the unease nestling in her chest began to ebb away. An innate confidence had taken root within her, nurtured by self-discovery and wanderlust for her aspirations. The week leading to the council meeting blurred into a mosaic of activity. Each day, she and Jenna organized an engaging countdown to the pop-up market. They curated a vibrant menu featuring her mother's beloved recipes, reintroducing the local community to the wonders that had once filled the bakery with life. The anticipation surged amongst their childhood friends and patrons as invitations spread. Amidst the chaos, Sarah felt her purpose clarifying. She was not merely saving a bakery. She was reigniting a connection, a legacy anchored in love and nostalgia. By the time the market arrived, a sea of familiar faces flooded the bakery's narrow aisles. With each person who walked through the door, a heartbeat emerged, resonant with stories shared over pastries, celebrating lives intertwined through years of laughter and love. As she presented her signature chocolate croissants during a baking demonstration, she witnessed both pride and vulnerability merging into a singular experience. Each pat of dough and sprinkle of sugar became not just a technique but a reaffirmation of who she was, who her family had been, and the aspirations she fought for. Sweat glistened on her brow as she chatted with customers, absorbing the affirmations that enveloped her. There was Evan, a loyal patron since childhood, reminiscing about the birthday cakes he had devoured. "Your mother's baking was like magic," he remarked with a warmth in his eyes. Every conversation felt like a droplet nurturing her newfound resolve, and for the first time in years, Sarah felt liberated amidst uncertainties. The bakery was reborn, not just as a physical entity, but as a cultural nexus of her community. As dusk settled, the achievements of the day crystallized in her heart. They had gathered stories that would populate the business proposal, a testament to what the bakery meant to the town. It wasn't just about financial metrics. It was about the legacy woven through shared moments. The next day arrived, and with it, the formal meeting with the council, a reality she had prepared for tirelessly. Armed with curated anecdotes, glowing testimonials, and a coherent strategic plan enriched by past experiences, Sarah entered the meeting with an unshakable confidence. It wasn't just another pitch, it was the culmination of years of love poured into a family legacy. Blake sat across the table, his demeanor unreadable, but she found strength in her voice, her words flowing decidedly. The bakery represents much more than business. It symbolizes shared experiences, history, and community spirit. We aren't asking merely for funding. We're advocating for a piece of our town's heart. The conviction in her tone resonated throughout the room, turning hesitant glances into engaged curiosity. As the discussion unfurled, Sarah deftly tackled their concerns, weaving narrative with data that illustrated the bakery's potential to thrive. Gradually, she sensed walls softening. Her authenticity began winning people over. By the end of the meeting, the atmosphere shifted from skepticism to tentative support, leading to a unanimous vote in favor of keeping the bakery operational. Her heartbeat surged, and still, amidst the tumult of accolades, she felt complete, not merely satisfied by an external recognition, but enriched by the personal growth she had undertaken. The trust Blake had shown in her during their negotiations was not just professional, it solidified a shared respect for one another as allies rather than adversaries. Energized by her triumph, Sarah returned to the bakery, embracing the laughter and camaraderie of her friends and family. Jenna beamed at her, pride radiating from every part of her. "You did it. We all knew you could." "I did it and we did it," Sarah corrected, relishing the moment. She had transformed from a woman ensnared by fear into an empowered entrepreneur, not through solely her efforts, but through the love and support of her community. Their collective victories were what truly mattered now. As she stood behind the counter, the bakery bustling with life, Sarah recognized this as the true start of a new journey, one built upon heart, resilience, and unwavering commitment. She was navigating the complexities of a business world rooted in connection, no longer just the weight of legacy, but a vibrant future ahead. In that moment, with her dreams finally within her grasp, Sarah felt resolved. She had conquered not just external odds, but the doubts and fears within herself. The echoes of her mother's spirit blended into her own, restoring faith in her journey. Now more than ever, It felt crucial to embrace the future, the legacy she would etch alongside her children, spreading warmth, kindness, and magic through the bakery, the heart of their shared journey. And just like that, a new chapter began, filled with endless possibilities awaiting to unfold. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.